Hey guys, Captain Mike here. I wanted to show you guys real quick how I did the forum buttons for the post reply and such. They're not difficult to do at all. In fact, it only took me a couple of minutes to design them and a couple hours to fill in all the text and all that. I know I had a little bit of interest in Skype over how they were made. I'm going to start doing a couple tutorials on how I make all the graphics for all of the AP stuff. If you are watching this and don't know what I'm talking about, go to alternateplatform.com and you can see the forum and all the graphic work that I've done with it. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you haven't seen the buttons, these are what I am talking about. The reply, post reply, all that. Like I said, they're not difficult to make. They're saved in GIF format, but you can save them in any format you like. So I'm just going to make a 140 by, let's say, 30 button. This way I have a little bit more space than in the buttons I actually did. I'm going to set the background color to white. As you can see, I already have my base color here. I don't use any color gradients. I use a white transparent circular gradient, or sorry, radial gradient a little bit later, but we don't actually use any foreground background gradients. So find a nice color. This is the hex notation for it, or HTML notation, the hex value. I will put that in the description if you want to make one identical to it. So yeah, let's start off by making a new layer called base and fill it with your main color. Then we're going to take our main color and darken it down about there. Then make a new layer, name it trim. Thank you very much. We're going to zoom in a little bit. You can hold Control and scroll your mouse wheel to zoom it in and out. Or you can use the little slider thing here on the bottom. It's cut out of the video right now, but it's there. Then we're going to grab our pencil tool and we're going to draw a border, 1 pixel thick border, all the way around the image. So it's going to look like such. You can adjust the size over here in the size tab. Just drag it all the way back for 1 pixel and select your classic 2-point hardness 100 brush that comes default with GIMP 2.8. Next, we're going to duplicate this trim layer and we're going to go to filters and we're going to blur it with Gaussian blur. Scale it down to about 2 or 3 blur. We're going to colorize it and make it completely black. And we're going to drop the layer below our trim layer and name this trim shadow. We can zoom in a little bit, take our move tool, or you can press M. You're going to click anywhere on the canvas to activate the keyboard movement. Don't try to move anything manually. It frequently ends badly with annoying out of place movement. Then we're just going to move it 2 pixels down and over with our arrow keys. Then we can zoom out a little bit and we're going to slide the opacity slider for the layer down a bit until we're happy with it. If you have your trim set up, your layer border, you can see this red or yellow and black line. When you zoom all the way out to 100% zoom, you can't really see the shadowing and everything very well. If you don't want to go into your settings and change it all up so that that doesn't show up, you can grab your text tool and create a text layer off randomly and name it, and you can see you get your full preview of your image. And then whenever you want to preview, you can go to your text layer and it'll select that layer and move the border up there. So as you can see, this is looking pretty nice. Next, I'm going to want to do the lighting, which I'm going to grab the gradient tool. I can put my foreground and background colors to black and white using these 2 little boxes here, and then click the arrow to switch them around. I can go to our gradient type and go to FG to transparent, which I already have selected, and I'm going to make sure that the shape is set to radial. I'm going to grab up here in the corner, I'm going to drag it down about there. And then I'm going to do it again over here in this corner. And then I can scale the opacity down a bit so we get our color in there, or our lighting in there. Then I'm going to make the gloss layer. I can name this and keep it all organized. I normally just have a whole bunch of background layers in there because I know what I'm doing, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll keep it all organized. This one we're going to call gloss. I'm going to grab our rectangular selection tool, and we're going to select roughly half of the triangle, or rectangle. I don't know geometry. I'm going to grab our bucket fill and fill it with solid white. I'm going to grab our opacity slider and slide it down to about there, I think. I can click over onto my text layer and see that it's about what I want it to be. I can adjust the lighting a little bit. And yeah, now we're ready to add our text. We can zoom in again and grab our text tool. I'm going to select the entire rectangle with my text tool. I'm going to write tutorial. You can see that it didn't show up because I have my tutorial text layer under all of the layers. We'll move that on top. And we can scale it down a little bit in our tool settings. And I'm going to choose a nice Arial font. Actually, I think I'm just going to go with Arial. There we go, Arial. Let's put Arial bold. There we go. And we can scale that down a little bit because the buttons are a little bit on the small text side. We can zoom out and see how this looks. It looks about right. I think I used classic Arial, which is regular, in the actual buttons. Yes, there we go. We can scale that down just a tad more. I think I had the ones for the form set to either 13 or 12. Alright, so now we got our text in there. And we're going to add some depth to it. So we're going to duplicate our text layer. We're going to right click on it and go to layer to image size. This makes it so we can blur it without getting that edge of the layer up there. You might have noticed that I had my text centered automatically. To do this, you just go to your text layer. Oopsie. You just go to your text layer. You can see right here, it tells me how I want to align my text. So I just hit center and make sure that each of the ends are on opposite ends of the layer, of the button layer, and then it automatically centers it for me. There's none of that measuring and moving it around. Then all you have to do is up and down. Or you can position it manually if you feel like it. So we're going to take we're going to call this shadow, and we're going to blur it with the Gaussian blur, however you like to pronounce it. We're going to blur it to colorize it and make it completely black by cranking down the lightness. And we're going to move it beneath our tutorial layer. And in fact, we'll move it beneath our gloss and lighting layers. We're going to take our move tool, click anywhere off where you're not clicking on a layer, and use the arrow keys to move it down as such. I think I'm going to go 2 down, 1 over. You can zoom out a little bit, and I can crank the opacity down at 42 for the foreign buttons. We can take our tutorial and drop it down over shadow just to keep things organized. And that is it, my friends. This is how to make the buttons for the forum. I basically use this same method for all of the buttons, and my signature, the Tazpiloti, Troll and Spam Prevention League of the Internet. I use the same method for that. I will also be using this for rank bars and stuff like that. I think it's a pretty nice method. Actually, I think I'm going to crank that gloss opacity up. There we go. Make it shiny. So that's that for that. Check back in frequently, and I will have up how to design the AP logo, the A and the P combined, that look kind of like an R. And I will show you how to make that shiny and glossy as I did in the logo for the banner for the site. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and that's fine. That's my for you.
Goodbye 1989, I wanna be the one in control. Rock my watch, shoes, bolo tie, the next big thing.